Welcome to the State of Colorado's 2025 online Watercraft Inspection and Decontamination Recertification course for experienced authorized agents. To be eligible for this online course, you must have been certified in both inspection and decontamination for a minimum of 2 prior consecutive years. The purpose of this course is to provide continuing education in a standardized format, which will update staff and refresh certification for those that work to protect the waters of our great state from harmful invasive species. By the end of this introduction module, you should be able to recall the basic roles and responsibilities of an authorized agent, define what aquatic nuisance species and invasive species are, as well as their general impacts, and identify the overall mission of the ANS program. The mission of the Aquatic Nuisance Species Program is to protect wildlife, recreation, natural resources, infrastructure, and the economy by preventing the introduction of zebra and quagga mussels and other invasive species. We do this by containing current infestations and stopping the spread into new waters. The ANS program achieves this through watercraft inspection and decontamination stations, sampling for early detection and monitoring of current populations, and public education. While the state invasive species program's priority is to prevent an introduction of zebra and quagga mussels, the aquatic nuisance species work is focused on all aquatic invaders that pose a potential threat to the state. The majority of Colorado's waters have no aquatic invasive species, and we want to keep it that way. The state of Colorado has known populations of New Zealand mud snails, rusty crayfish, zebra mussels, bighead carp, Eurasian water milfoil, and Brazilian egeria. The ANS program works to prevent the transportation and further distribution of these harmful invasive species in the state. There are many other ANS that are not currently known to Colorado, and we work hard to prevent all of these species from coming into our great state. The State ANS Act, which was passed in 2008, formalized the state ANS program. The act made it illegal to possess, import, export, ship, transport, release, plant, place, or cause an ANS to be released. It also provided authority for authorized agents, as well as qualified peace officers, to inspect and decontaminate watercraft for the purpose of ANS prevention. The Act also created agents, which is the legal term for an inspector and decontaminator. It gives agents the authority to temporarily stop and detain a conveyance, inspect the conveyance for ANS, and recommend and perform a decontamination if the operator is willing. Inspectors are not authorized to order a decontamination and must contact law enforcement if compliance must be enforced. You will once again be certified as an authorized agent after you complete this course. Qualified peace officers are post-certified officers. They can order the boater to comply and impound the boat if the boater does not comply. Peace officers are only needed if the boater is non-compliant. These officers may be called for a boat attempting to launch without a required decontamination, or for a boater refusing inspection or decontamination at a roadside watercraft inspection and decontamination station. ANS regulations are covered in Chapter P8 of Colorado Parks and Wildlife Regulations. These regulations require that all persons be trained and certified by Colorado Parks and Wildlife prior to performing inspections in Colorado. In order to be certified, new inspectors must complete the WID training course online, pass the exam, and receive a hands-on training given by a certified trainer. After your second consecutive season as an ANS inspector, you may complete the Experienced Inspector Self-Paced modules. It is illegal by state law to conduct inspections and decontaminations if you have not completed these steps. These regulations also allow CPW to create authorized locations, set the ANS list, mandate inspection and decontamination, and set the standards by which these activities are performed across the state. In 2022 and 2023, the ANS program broadened our horizons by testing out potential locations for roadside inspections. We spent time in Fort Morgan, Cortez, Loma, Lyman, Dinosaur, Lamar, Alamosa, and Trinidad. The Loma Port of Entry on I-70 and the Trinidad Port of Entry on I-25 had the most traffic and the highest potential for intercepting mussel-fowl boats, so we began operating those two stations 5 days a week starting in 2024. Ports of entry were operated 5 days a week rather than seven to allow the busiest days for commercial motor vehicle traffic at ports of entry to remain uninterrupted by boating traffic, as this was the first season of balancing the port traffic and boater traffic. CPW is working with the Colorado Department of Transportation as well as Colorado State Patrol Port of Entry to expand the roadside program by operating 7 days a week and adding additional roadside locations. In 2025, we will expand our operating hours to 7 days a week at Trinidad and Loma, as well as add two new full-time stations at Fort Morgan and Lyman after performing rotating inspections at these sites in 2024. To better inform the future operation of roadside locations, CPW will utilize data from an Army Corps of Engineers study to help determine common routes of travel into Colorado from infested locations in other states. Now, I'll provide a brief summary of our science-based approach to the ANS program. Colorado has taken a three-tiered approach to analyzing risk. Tier 1 is the risk of introduction. What is the likelihood that mussels will be introduced via recreational watercraft? Tier 2 is the risk of establishment. What is the likelihood that if introduced, mussels can build shells and survive? Tier 3 is also associated with the risk of establishment. What is the likelihood that mussels can grow, reproduce, and establish an invasive population? The results of these studies show that all waters in Colorado are susceptible to mussel invasion. If you'd like to know more about this, please contact our state invasive species program. Now, we'll talk briefly about sampling and monitoring. ANS sampling and monitoring crews monitor over 500 waters in the state. The crews follow standardized protocols that target specific life cycles of mussels. We do plankton toes to find veligers, which is the initial microscopic planktonic life stage. We set out substrates to find the second life stage called settlers, which is when the mussels begin to settle out of the water column and build cells. And last but not least, we do shoreline surveys to search for adult mussels. You will learn more about the mussel life cycle in the next module on biology. The crews also sample for crayfish, plants, and other mollusks as time and resources allow. You will see our sampling and monitoring crews throughout the year. The frequency and quantity at which we sample is based upon the risk. Please help our sampling and monitoring teams get on the water fast so they can get their work done efficiently. We will talk about where other ANS species are found in Colorado during Module 2 on biology. As you can see, we focus the monitoring on plankton toes to try to find the earliest introduction of mussels possible. We do this by targeting the juvenile life stage versus discovering an invasion when it's too late to do anything. More sampling was performed in 2023 and 2024 due to increased efficiencies that allowed us to expand and sample more rivers and streams than ever before. You know we sample for ANS using different methods for different life stages. Similarly, we have different standards to positively identify zebra and quagga mussels depending on the life stage. For veligers, or the microscopic life stage of mussels, the organism must first be identified under a microscope. We need to see an animal. Then we use PCR or polymerase chain reaction to confirm the species identification using molecular analysis or DNA analysis. Lastly, gene sequencing is used to ensure the DNA of the species in question genetically matches zebra or quagga mussels. In order to list a water body for veligers, we have to see the animal and get positive results on 2 rounds of genetics to confirm there is no other animal in the world it could be. For the settler and adult life stage of mussels, taxonomic identification must be confirmed by 2 independent experts. DNA analysis may or may not be required for further confirmation. The same is true of plants, mollusks, and crustaceans. In August of 2013, the Western states gathered in Denver and agreed on the regional language and water body definitions for aquatic invasive species detected waters. Colorado adopted this language in January of 2014 along with other states. Most waters in Colorado are negative and therefore operate as prevention waters. Inconclusive means there has been an exposure to mussels, but actual organisms have not been found, only environmental DNA. There are currently no inconclusive waters in Colorado. Suspect means that a water has met the minimum criteria for detection only once. Positive means that a water has met the minimum criteria for detection more than once. And infested means there is an adult reproducing population in the water body. Highline Lake is considered to be infested due to the finding of many adult mussels. We are surrounded by infested waters in states such as Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Utah, Texas, Arizona, California, Nevada, and pretty much everything to our east. Colorado also adopted the Western Regional Standard for delisting waters for zebra and quagga mussels in 2014. Per this regional standard, a water which is tested positive for zebra or quagga mussels must go through 5 subsequent years of negative testing to go from a positive to a negative status. A water which is tested suspect for ZQM only needs to go through 3 years of negative testing to be delisted. Per the regional standard, Colorado delisted Grand Lake, Granby Reservoir, Shadow Mountain Reservoir, Willow Creek Reservoir, Jumbo Reservoir, and Tarryall reservoirs after 5 years of negative testing in 2014. These reservoirs all had a single veliger detection in 2008 and no detection since. Blue Mesa Reservoir was also delisted from suspect to negative in 2014. In January of 2017, Colorado also delisted Pueblo Reservoir after 5 years of negative testing. Most recently, in January of 2021, Colorado delisted Green Mountain Reservoir. Highline Lake in western Colorado is currently listed as infested. ANS sampling crew members detected an adult zebra mussel attached to their artificial sampling substrate in September of 2022. Highline ran under containment protocols for the 2023 boating season, but was still considered a prevention location for all other aquatic nuisance species. Weekly sampling was performed all year at Highline in 2022, and no positive results were found until September 22nd when a single veliger was found in a water sample. On October 1st, buoys and other equipment were removed as routine end-of-season maintenance. Several adult zebra mussels were found on this equipment as it was removed. In November of 2023, the ANS program elected to perform another chemical treatment to control the population until Highline Park staff were able to drain the reservoir. A partial drawdown took place in the spring of 2024, leaving the water levels low throughout the summer. Highline Lake was closed to motorized boating for all of 2024. In the fall, the lake began its complete draining, allowing the lake bed to dry and freeze over the course of the winter season. Highline Lake will begin to refill the first week of April 2025 when irrigation season begins and the government Highline Canal releases water into the lake. Highline will reopen to boating as soon as it is full and will run a robust containment program, which requires all boats to be decontaminated upon exit, regardless of their next launch location or boat type. Zebra mussel veligers were detected in the Government Highline Canal in July of 2024. The Government Highline Canal diverts water from the Colorado River and delivers irrigation water to the Grand Valley until it reaches Highline Lake. Ongoing sampling revealed that several veligers were found within this canal. as well as the Colorado River as far upstream as DeBeck. No adults have been discovered despite over 400 samples being collected after these findings. No adult mussels have been found in either the Government Highline Canal or the Colorado River. Based on these findings, both the Government Highline Canal and the Colorado River are considered positive for the presence of zebra mussel veligers. Sampling of the Colorado River, the Government Highline Canal, Highline Lake, and downstream locations will continue in 2025. Next, we'll discuss the mandatory watercraft inspection and decontamination program. Before we dive into our inspection and decontamination program, let's discuss what's required of watercraft operators or owners. Watercraft owners or operators are required to purchase an ANS stamp. These are required on all motorboats and sailboats operating on Colorado's waters. Watercraft owners and operators must also clean, drain, and dry their vessel in between each and every launch, remove water drain plugs upon exiting the water body and leave them out during transport, and remove aquatic plants upon exiting the water body. In regards to our inspection and decontamination stations, we have 4 types of stations. Negative prevention waters are waters that have never had a verified detection of any ANS or have been delisted. Other ANS containment waters are waters that have a verified presence of an aquatic nuisance species listed in our Chapter 8 regulations other than zebra quagga mussels. ZQM containment waters are waters that have had a verified zebra or quagga mussel detection. And off-water WIDs are authorized locations that are not at a lake or reservoir, such as offices, marine dealers, and ports of entry. There are over 75 watercraft inspection and decontamination stations operated by a variety of jurisdictions in Colorado. The majority of these are operated by Colorado Parks and Wildlife and private industry. This is very much a partnership effort, and there is no way that CPW could implement this program alone. This map shows the distribution of inspection locations across the state. As you can see, we have stations from corner to corner. In Colorado, a boater should never be too far from an inspection station to comply with the mandatory regulations. Again, we have many partners involved. This includes private industry, cities, counties, federal government, as well as Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Colorado has one of the largest watercraft inspection and decontamination programs in the nation. As you can see, there are between 450 and 500,000 inspections performed in Colorado each and every year. Since the inception of the program back in 2008, there have been 7.4 million inspections and over 250,000 decontaminations performed in the state. It's important to note that there has been a large increase in the number of decontaminations in recent years. This is a direct result of Colorado Parks and Wildlife and our partners adapting to mitigate new threats. Research publications have indicated zebra quagga mussel veligers can survive up to 27 days in standing water on boats. Another factor increasing Colorado's need for decontamination is the increase in mussel-infested waters in other states. Lastly, waters in close proximity to or positive for other ANS, such as New Zealand mud snails or Eurasian water milfoil, perform more decontaminations to limit their spread within Colorado. CPW and our partners revised standing water decontamination triggers in 2013 to reduce the threat of invasion from viable zebra quagga mussel veligers living in standing water. This helps to protect against watercraft coming from other states' infested waters and to reduce the spread of other invasive species. The slight decline in decontaminations in 2024 can be directly attributed to Highline Lake being closed to boating. Staff at Colorado's network of watercraft inspection and decontamination stations routinely intercept watercraft infested with zebra quagga mussels or other suspect ANS. It is obvious that recreational watercraft is the main pathway of spread and invasion for zebra and quagga mussels to move over land and infest new watersheds. There have been 940 mussel boat interceptions since the program began. All of these boats were coming in from out of state and were fully decontaminated before being allowed to launch. It is important to remember that the vast majority of mussel boats found in Colorado do not have attached mussels. Shells are most often found inside the boat in compartments or on carpets, so please remember to get inside the boat for incoming inspections. Some of Colorado's busiest reservoirs intercept the most mussel-infested watercraft. But it's not just the heavy lifters that get mussel boats. We have had interceptions in all four regions at very large and very small reservoirs operated by a variety of jurisdictions. In 2024, about 73% of mussel-fouled boats intercepted in Colorado came from Lake Powell. However, mussel boats are coming from all directions. We have intercepted boats from all across the country. Colorado is truly surrounded by infested waters, but we do have the tools to prevent those infested boats from getting into our waters, and we can continue to keep our waters free of invasive mussels. Now, let's chat about a few other CPW operations. It is required in regulation that the ANS program conduct quality control evaluations to ensure that stations are following protocol and providing protection to those lakes. This includes secret shopping of inspection stations, on the job training, and evaluation of customer service representatives throughout the state. The intention of quality assurance is to help. The intent is to improve inspections and decontaminations and ultimately provide the highest protection of our resources and recreational opportunities. These evaluations are based on the inspection procedure we will review in the inspection module. Supervisors are required to use the form and perform quality control assessments of their staff. Hatcheries in Colorado are required to do annual fish health inspections and have protocols in place specific to the facilities and fish transport to prevent the spread of fish diseases and invasive species. They are regularly monitored for ANS, and to date, no mussels have been found in a Colorado hatchery, but protections are in place so that CPW has the highest assurance of risk mitigation just in case. We try to set the example and do the maximum protection possible. You will see our ANS sampling crews and aquatic biologists from time to time at reservoirs or on the inspection ramps. Every member of our sampling and monitoring team is certified to do their own inspections and decontaminations. They fully decontaminate all of their equipment and boats in between each and every use. They will be green sealed with a receipt. If agency boats are not green sealed with a receipt, they are subject to the same inspection and decontamination process as any other boat. While they do have to stop and have inspectors verify their seal and receipt, please try to expedite their wait time. We greatly appreciate inspectors quickly moving them and getting them onto the water as fast as possible. All Western states have ANS programs in place. Some have very sophisticated boat inspection systems similar to Colorado. However, many states are unfunded or underfunded, and almost all lack the personnel needed to run inspection stations. While there are many challenges ahead for other states in the region, Western states are working together to find common solutions and create connections between Western state ANS programs. We are connected and we are helping each other. Finally, let's end this module with one of the most important aspects of our program, education and outreach. As an inspector, your primary objective is to educate boaters and anglers to clean, drain, and dry their boats and gear in between each and every use. Colorado will never have the resources to perform inspections on every body of water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Research has shown that using the authority of the resource or making one understand their impacts on the environment is the most successful way to change behavior. If boaters and anglers understand that transporting ANS will cause harm to their favorite fishing and boating spots, they are more likely to clean their boats and gear and transport them cleaned, drained, and dry each and every time. The state of Colorado trains around 700 inspectors a year. Our inspectors train close to 90,000 boaters through the performance of almost 500,000 inspections each and every year. In doing so, you are teaching the boaters to clean, drain, and dry. You are teaching boaters not to transport standing water in to pull their plugs. You are teaching the boaters to remove plants when leaving the water body. We are collectively changing the culture of boating. If there is no water, no mud, no plants, and no animals on board the conveyance when it leaves the water body, we are significantly reducing the risk of transporting invasive species. To assist you with educating the public, we have lots of educational materials for your use. The program office develops these to meet the needs of the field. If you are running low or have ideas for new education and outreach materials, please ask your supervisor to request these through the ANS program office. In 2024, the ANS program began dedicating more resources to non-motorized user outreach. Many paddlers, anglers, and hunters may not be aware of the requirements to clean all gear that contacts the water. Targeted videos and rack cards help users of all types access information suited to their specific equipment and how to reduce the risk of transporting ANS. These new rack cards should be available at your inspection site. In response to the growing number of locations with New Zealand mud snails, CPW has utilized a generous grant from the Bureau of Land Management to design, build, and deploy wader and gear cleaning stations. These stations are being deployed at fly shops and private fishing lakes in close proximity to known mud snail populations as both an educational and practical tool to help both recreationists and professionals practice clean, drain, and dry principles when utilizing our aquatic resources. CD3 stations are a tool that allow non-motorized boaters, anglers, and hunters to clean, drain, and dry their equipment. CD3 stands for Clean, Drain, Dry, and Dispose. There are a few different versions of these stations, but all include signage and instructions for use, as well as custom wraps to depict invasive species of concern in Colorado. Several CD3s have been deployed along the Colorado and Gunnison rivers to reduce the risk of zebra mussels being accidentally moved to other locations, but these can also reduce the spread of New Zealand mud snails and other ANS of concern. Dedicated outreach technicians are giving away clean, drain, and dry CPW branded tools to help recreationists clean their gear. These include both towels and boot brushes. Congratulations! You have successfully completed the first module for your recertification as an authorized agent. Please complete the exam questions and then move on to Module 2 on biology. Thank you for your continued dedication to the protection of our aquatic resources.